You wait in line. As the queue gets shorter, you look around, feeling the anticipation and anxiety of being next. Bit by bit, you inch closer to your turn, with the people in front of you falling away in view. Then, as you walk tensely up to take your turn to perform, you're asked a couple of questions about what was said by the person preceding you. Although it was just a few minutes ago, you stand there, cold and still, completely blank in thought, having forgotten exactly what was said. This phenomenon of being unable to recall information that preceded you just as you're about to perform is what is known as the next in line effect. When people are in line, expected to perform in some sort of way, whether that be dance, sing, or simply speak, they tend to ignore the cues that are around them. This act of being next in line has shown to have quite a strong influential effect on our attention, and in turn our short-term memory. In this video, I explore what the next in line effect is in detail, why it happens, and how we can go about preventing it from happening. The next in line effect was first studied by British clinical scientist Dr. Malcolm Brenner back in 1973. In his study, he got a group of subjects to sit in one by one and expose and read aloud a word card to the rest of the group that listened in. Brenner examined their recall abilities as both performers, those who went up and spoke aloud, and as an audience. Also, to mitigate any bias in regards to serial position effect, the first and last two words were not analyzed. Brenner discovered that most subjects tended not to recall words that were mentioned 9 seconds before and after a given performance. The results created what is known as a scallop effect. This is a concept in behaviorism where a response pattern starts slowly but increases in speed, creating a shape in the data that resembles a scallop, hence the name. Studies like this demonstrate that the requirement to perform strongly influence the subject's ability to recall any given information. Attention and its limited capacity may be one explanation as to why the next in line effect occurs. According to Daniel Kahneman's book Attention and Effort, he proposes that our attention is limited in resources. This theory, known as the capacity framework model of attention, states that we can only pay attention to so many things in any given environment or time. This may be to help prevent cognitive overload and perform familiar tasks accordingly. Another explanation for the next in line phenomenon can be seen in an error at the encoding process right before performance. This encoding deficit can come from a lack of attention, as mentioned earlier, or is also derived from social anxiety. A study by social psychologist Charles F. Bond Jr. found that people who reported having higher levels of social anxiety were more likely to experience the next in line effect. Just as attention may disrupt the encoding process, pre-performance anxiety can impair what we remember. So, if the next in line effect is ultimately a matter of attention, the closest way to help prevent this phenomenon from occurring is to consciously direct our attention to the pre-performance tasks at hand. To help with this, warnings prior to the performance itself can help to bring the person's attention back to the given task. These warnings can help a person to utilize their limited attentional resources for the task at hand instead of having them deal with their anticipatory thoughts of going up next. Like with many cognitive biases, we need to start with realizing that these mental tricks are happening to us. As we become conscious, the next step is to be able to be cognitively aware. This is the best way to start combating cognitive biases and becoming better at realizing how they influence us. One bias that I mentioned earlier in this video was the serial position effect. This is one among many cognitive biases that relate to memory and how we remember things. So to learn more about how putting something first or last in a list can influence how well we retain that information, watch the video on the left. And hit the playlist on the right for more videos related to cognitive biases.